So hello guys, and welcome to another tier list video, and Demeech and I will be doing another tier list, and this time we will be ranking the Switch era Nintendo Directs. So ever since the Switch era started, Nintendo had a unique format for kind of showcasing their major announcements, and it was a lot different from their past Directs, which is why I'm doing Switch-specific Directs, because like in the past, they had like a lot more skits, and the segments were longer, and the Directs were more frequent. But during the Switch era, they kind of had a schedule of doing the Directs like around like February or March, and then in June, and then September, and then they'd also have like things like partner showcases and direct minis and different things like that. So
yeah, it's been an interesting era. With Nintendo Directs, I do feel like I liked when they were more prevalent. Nintendo used to do them about once a month, which was great, and there was a ton of personality with them. Unfortunately, Iwata is no longer with us, and Reggie retired, so we don't see a lot of that in Switch Directs, although there are elements of it. But we're mainly talking about how the Directs are announcements-wise, and just overall how they were.
So yeah, we're gonna start off with one that technically isn't a Direct, but I would say it is worthy of being ranked alongside these Directs. And that's the Nintendo Switch presentation from January 2017. And I'd have to say, this was definitely an amazing introduction to the Nintendo Switch in terms of like the lineup of games that we were kind of shown there. Like Super Mario Odyssey, Splatoon 2, Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, so many, like I think even like Xenoblade Chronicles 2, so many great games were announced in this presentation, and it was definitely a great way of kind of starting off the Switch era and everything. I just like, with the Mario Odyssey announcement specifically, that was just an amazing moment, and that like, once that trailer dropped, I was like, this is the Mario game that I've always been wanting. Like, it was like the perfect reintroduction to the sandbox 3D Mario style, and it looked absolutely amazing. And there were also like other highlights during the presentation as well. Like, I always remember that one part where they were like showing off the capabilities of the Joy-Cons, and they were like showing that it was like, it could basically replicate like ice cubes in a glass. I just, like, I remember that.
They were so proud of that, you know, they absolutely were.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter about the games. They wanted you to know that Joy-Cons, you can actually feel ice cubes in the controller.
Like, I remember, like, I was just gonna say, I remember that specific moment, like, 7 years later. That's how much they wanted you to know.
Oh, I remember that entire presentation. See, the thing is, it's the most significant Nintendo Switch Direct or presentation because this was announced way in advance. It was announced in November of 2016, or it was either that or late October, shortly after it was revealed. So we had to wait a long time for it, but it was absolutely worth it. It is interesting because it's the only one that was a live presentation, which did lead to some awkward moments. Do you remember the Splatoon 2 one, where they had one of the developers go up on stage and he did Splatoon 2, and was waiting for an applause and he didn't get it?
Yeah, yeah, I remember that.
It was funny, but not in an intentional way, but that Super Mario Odyssey trailer, there was always the Mario game that I always wanted, just seeing it. I knew from the 5 seconds of footage and the teaser for it and the Switch reveal that it would be something special, but just seeing New Donk City and Toast Arena, and at the time it was called Cogwald, but Steam Gardens, and of course Mount Volbono. Just seeing how much creativity there was, it showcased that Nintendo was back, and it was an amazing way to start off a new era. So I would put that in Spotlight for sure.
Oh, I definitely agree.
Despite some of the awkward moments, it's everything I want from a Nintendo presentation, although to be fair, I do like the awkward moments. Sometimes they take up the whole presentation, like E3 2008, where you had Shaun White laughing and Cammie Dunaway, but regardless, that is a spotlight right there.
Yeah. So moving on, we have the April 2017 Direct, and this one, wasn't really as memorable, like as some of the others that we'll mention. There were some like interesting things here, like there were some like Splatoon 2 things shown, and I specifically remember like Minecraft, like the Nintendo Switch edition being announced because I was pretty excited about that. But it wasn't really that memorable of a direct. Like they didn't really like show off that much. They didn't show any new info for Odyssey, and like I don't know, it was just kind of weird. Like just right after we got like the Switch. I feel like we were expecting more like news and things, so I feel like it didn't really entirely satisfy like what people were hoping to see.
Yeah, the thing is, I remember a lot of Nintendo Directs, but all I remember is that it was focused on ARMS and it revealed yellow Joy-Cons. So I would say decent.
Yeah, I would probably
Eh.
say decent because like there were a couple announcements that I remember, but it was just like kind of a meh direct. But moving on, we have quite the opposite with E3 2017. This is another one that isn't technically a direct, but I do feel like once again it is worthy of being kind of ranked alongside the directs. And this is the E3 2017 presentation. And this was absolutely amazing. We got new info on Mario Odyssey. We got like Yoshi's Crafted World, or at the time it was just a new Yoshi game. And
The Yoshi game.
and we also got an announcement of a game that we still don't know anything about, Metroid Prime 4. And just a lot of great things in general.
Yeah, I would say with E3 2017, at the time, it was amazing. And the Super Mario Odyssey trailer really carried that entire presentation. That was the one that revealed Cappy fully, and that Mario could capture enemies. Also revealed some new kingdoms, Fossil Falls, and Bonneton were revealed. It was great. In terms of Super Mario Odyssey, that trailer still gives me chills. And
Yeah.
that presentation was right before I went to Greece for the first time, so it has a very special place in my heart. However, looking back, yeah, it revealed Yoshi's Crafted World, and I love that game. But it did reveal Kirby Star Allies, which I'm not a fan of. It also technically revealed Pokemon Sword and Shield, which I'm super not a fan of. And with Metroid Prime 4, we know nothing about it that I see it as something that was cool to announce, but at this point, it might have been kind of underwhelming. But at the time, I would definitely say it goes into either highlight or spotlight.
Yeah, I would say probably highlight because, like now looking back, it wasn't like just kind of like with its importance, it wasn't like as big as like we thought it was then, but it still was great in general. Like the Odyssey information that we got in the trailer and everything were still really memorable. And speaking of that, I remember like when like the presentation dropped, I was like doing something that day, but I was like waiting until I got home to watch it. But I remember getting a notification for the new Odyssey trailer and seeing the frog capture, and I was like, the frog suit is back! Yes!
Oh, but it's certainly the frog suit in a completely different way.
Yeah, but it was before I knew about the capture and everything. I just saw the thumbnail with like the frog Mario there, and I was just like, oh, it's the frog suit. But but yeah, that's one of the things I remember about it, but that was like right before I watched it. But yeah, moving on to September 2017. So yeah, this is another one that like I don't remember like that much about, because it was quite a while ago. I know they did show like new information about like certain games like Xenoblade 2 and like the Snipper Clips Plus thing that they were doing like with the DLC, and then also like another trailer for Odyssey. And then I think like they like I'm just remembering like a lot of like updates and things for games here. Like not really like too much here from what I'm remembering. Like there were like quite a few 3DS announcements as well.
Yeah, with the September Direct from 2017, looking back, I remember specifically when it happened because there was a hurricane, and that's when it happened. But fortunately, I was able to see it. Super Mario Odyssey announcements were great. Another highlight is Arcade Archives Mario Brothers. I always wanted the arcade original Nintendo games to be on the Switch or any Nintendo console. So seeing that, it was great. I will say, it's not one of the most memorable directs, but I would say it still is a good one.
Yeah, I would say maybe mini for that one. I would say like because it wasn't as memorable as like E3 2017, but I would say it's better than like April 2017. So I would say that's good for that. But moving into 2018, we got the mini direct. I remember at the time, people were saying this was like a huge direct drought. Like it's been so long since the last direct. Looking back, it kind of like I think that was probably because we were used to like more directs happening like during the 3DS and Wii U era. So like with Nintendo's new schedule, like we weren't really used to the gap between like a direct in like September and a direct like around like January through March. So it was kind of interesting about that kind of looking back as like between like 2017 and 2019. But with the January 2018 mini direct, I thought it was alright. Like, there were a few things that I remember there, like Mario Tennis Aces and Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze getting a port on Switch. And I'm not sure if there was too much else, but I do remember those specifically. So what were your thoughts on it?
With the mini, yeah, it did feel like there was a drought for Nintendo Directs. Because at the time we were used to more information, and considering the Switch was brand new, it was to be expected. Looking back, it announced a lot of ports of Wii U games, which would be a theme for that entire year. But in terms of a mini direct, it was pretty good. It announced the Luigi's Balloon World mode for Super Mario Odyssey, so that was cool. Also had Mario Tennis Aces, which, you know, a lot of people, and rightfully so, no, I'm not a huge fan of the game, but at the time it looked to be something really cool. But even looking at it now, it's just alright. It lacked content, just overpriced for what it was. So I would say that goes into quite fittingly mini.
Yeah. I would say maybe tied with the September 2017 one with its announcements. But moving on, we have, honestly, one of my personal favorite directs, I would say, of the Switch era. Because we got quite a lot of great things here. Like, starting off with the 3DS lineup, there were a ton of great 3DS announcements here. Like, even though we were already into the Switch era, we got, like, Luigi's Mansion remake, and then WarioWare Gold, and I think Captain Toad Treasure Tracker as well. Wasn't Bowser's Inside Story also announced here as well? I might be wrong.
It was.
Yeah. And then
yeah, it was definitely a great direct to be a Nintendo 3DS fan. And the announcements of WarioWare Gold, that was awesome. I did want a WarioWare on Switch, but I do think that WarioWare Gold is one of the few 3DS games released after the Switch that definitely needed to be on the 3DS, because it uses a lot of the touchscreen and features of the system, pretty much all of them except for 3D, so that is a great game. Luigi's Mansion I was a little irked about, because I feel like that should have been remade for the Switch, and for Bowser's Inside Story, yeah, definitely would have been better off on the Switch. But there was one announcement from that direct that changed the entire landscape for all succeeding directs going forward. What was that one more thing?
that was Sushi Striker. No, I'm just kidding. Smash Ultimate. Well, at the time, we just knew it as Super Smash Bros. For the Switch, but that was quite an amazing trailer. Like, honestly, one of the best reveals of the Switch era. Just, like, really memorable how it started off as, like, a Splatoon thing at first, because, like, there were, like, a couple Splatoon announcements before that, and then we were like, oh, another Splatoon thing, and then it just, like, just went right into Smash, and that was really, like, just an amazing announcement in general.
Yeah, it was. It was a great teaser for it, and that really just set the landscape that anything could be announced in Nintendo Directs.
Yeah.
going forward. It didn't have to be saved for E3.
And another thing, I feel like there were also like quite a lot of really solid announcements during this direct as well. Like we got the Octo expansion for Splatoon 2, as well as the Crash Insane trilogy and Undertale and a few other things. I feel like there were definitely quite a lot of like interesting announcements here. So I would definitely have to say like highlight for this one.
Highlight, I would say that it would go in a spotlight. Although I will say,
I'm just
there
like,
are better Nintendo Directs.
yeah, I'm just thinking like it's somewhere between spotlight and highlight. You know what? I'll put it in spotlight because of how memorable the Smash announcement was. So, yeah. But moving on, well, we had a regular Nintendo Direct that was amazing. The next one after that was supposed to be bigger, but
Oh my gosh.
yeah.
Where do I begin with this one? You know what? I'm just gonna say it. This is my least favorite E3 Nintendo has ever done. Sure, there were things like E3 2008 and E3 2015. 2015 announced a lot of bad games. That announced Animal Crossing Amiibo Festival and Metroid Prime Federation Force, which that one isn't a bad game, but released at the worst possible time. And then you got stuff like Mario Tennis Ultra Smash, Mario and Luigi Paper Jam, and Star Fox Zero. But at least they were announcements, and it had the Muppets. So even though it wasn't a good presentation, it was still interesting. I can't say the same for E3 2018. I would put that in trash.
You know,
Because all they had was Super Smash Bros. Ultimate, and they went on for a good 30 minutes. And it wasn't information like that was important. You can see that Donkey Kong has new facial expressions. Look at how expressive he is. They were so desperate to talk about it. And sure, there was Super Mario Party and a few other announcements, but this was a horrible E3. Good Smash Direct, but it's one of my least favorites.
yeah, I would say it's definitely one of the weaker ones for me. I didn't hate it as much as you, because I mean, at the time I was like really hyped about Smash Ultimate, but like, yeah, and the Mario Party thing was pretty memorable as well. My reaction to it was pretty funny. And that was actually the first direct that I've streamed live. So I think that was kind of like memorable for me there. And I also thought it was funny, like, when they announced Fortnite. I think this was the one they announced Fortnite. Reggie was like, I'll be joining you on the battle bus in Fortnite on the Nintendo Switch. I thought that was pretty funny, but yeah.
Fortnite was a good announcement, and what Reggie said was funny. It just stinks that that was his last E3 because it was not a good presentation.
Yeah. Honestly, I'm not sure if I would put it in trash personally, because I feel like it did have some like memorable things, like the Everyone Is Here trailer was really memorable. And I mean, like, yeah, they went on way too long about
I would
Smash and
say-
everything.
We'll come to a middle ground and put it in farm.
Yeah, I'll put it in. Yeah, I think that's good, because like if this was like for me personally, I would say decent, but I definitely understand why you didn't like it. So I think farm is a good middle ground. So moving on, we have the September 2018 Direct. And this one, for the September 2017 one, you were saying that was happening during a hurricane for you, but this was actually happening during a hurricane for me. I actually had to evacuate to Pennsylvania, and I streamed the Direct up there. So, and this actually got delayed as well. Like, because I think...
Yeah, I remember that. Because there was an earthquake in Japan.
Yeah. But,
Your only chance to evacuate is to leave with us. But we did get that Nintendo Direct eventually, so when it aired, it was a pretty great Direct. I believe it
Yeah.
actually showcased some information on Yoshi's Crafted World, which they didn't even show at E3 of that year. But the biggest announcement was for Luigi's Mansion 3.
Oh,
We did
yeah.
kind of get a teaser for it with the Simon Belmont reveal for Super Smash Bros. Ultimate, where Luigi had a shiny new Poltergust, but this was the full reveal of the game. And I gotta say, I was super hyped. Although one thing that's important bringing up is when Luigi's Mansion 3 was revealed, it was one of the most graphically unimpressive Switch games we've ever seen. But wouldn't you know, it turned out to be the best looking and most impressive Switch game that's Nintendo has ever made.
Yeah, and there are also a couple other highlights here as well. Like with Animal Crossing, I think that was really cool how they revealed both Isabelle and Smash, as well as like New Horizons, which just at the time we knew as Animal Crossing on the Switch. I thought that was really cool how they did like both of those announcements at the same time. And then we also got another announcement that was kind of disappointing, which was New Super Mario Bros. U Deluxe. So,
Oh, and this was also the Nintendo Direct that introduced Nintendo Switch Online to the world.
oh
So it
yeah.
did have some low blows, but at the same time, there were a lot of great announcements, specifically Luigi's Mansion 3 and Animal Crossing New Horizons. So I would say that that goes in a highlight. One of
Yeah.
the best Directs. Although I will say, definitely some more legendary Directs.
So yeah, moving on to February 2019, I feel like going into like this one, we had like really high expectations. And I mean, rightfully so, because like in 2018, like with the last direct there, like like that was pretty great with the September one and everything. And then not necessarily E3 2018, but a lot of people loved the Smash announcements that we got there. And the March 2018 Direct was amazing as well. So I feel like at the time, we were pretty excited, like going into 2019 with like announcements and everything. But they delivered with this Direct, because they announced quite a lot of great things here. Like just right off the bat, we got Mario Maker 2, which is an amazing game. Like at the time, I was just really excited about it. Like honestly, I would say I was just as excited about Mario Maker 2 then as I am with Thousand Year Door now. Actually, maybe I'm
That's
a little
pretty high bar.
yeah, maybe close, but I was super excited about Mario Maker 2 then, because I was kind of obsessed with Mario Maker for a while. So I mean, like I would say like it was definitely up there as one of the most exciting like announcements for me. But
They started off with Slopes too.
yeah, that was like the one thing that like so many people have been wanting from the original. But they also did Link's Awakening, the remake, which is also an amazing game as well. And I think they even did like a few other things as well, like Box Boy plus Box Girl, Tetris 99, which is still going on and is still like somewhat popular to this day. And I think like Astral Chain and like a few other things. Like there were like quite a lot of pretty memorable announcements here.
I will say, it was mainly carried on by the two announcements of Super Mario Maker 2 and Link's Awakening. So it would go into highlight, but definitely a direct I left very happy with.
Yeah. So moving on to E3 2019, I thought this one was fairly good. Like at the time, I feel like a lot of people were like really excited about this one and were saying it was one of the best directs, but looking back, I'm kind of like in the middle. I still thought it was really good, but they did kind of show things that we already knew. I mean, they were great, like that they showed like new info on like Animal Crossing, which we didn't have any footage on before, and Luigi's Mansion 3 started to look absolutely amazing at this direct as well. And then we also got the first trailer for the sequel to Breath of the Wild, which would eventually end up being Tears of the Kingdom. Like, it's interesting, like, that, like, all the way back then, like, we got, like, basically what was, one of the opening cutscenes for Tears of the Kingdom. It's just interesting that they announced it so far in advance then. And then, on top of that, I think we also got the announcement for Banjo and Smash as well, which was also amazing.
Yeah, I would say that, sure, a lot of the announcements were footage and new information about games we already knew about, but at the same time, we didn't know anything about Animal Crossing New Horizons, so seeing that it was very cool. Luigi's Mansion 3 looked incredible. I think I liked E3 2019 more than you did. That Banjo reveal, it was just incredible. With Super Smash Bros. Ultimate, when it comes to the hype train for that game, I largely wasn't on it, and during that direct, they did announce Hero from Dragon Quest, which is a big deal, but, you know, at the same time, I wasn't too invested. So when the presentation's wrapping up, they play the trailer for Banjo and Kazooie, and at first I'm thinking, oh, it's auto-playing the K. Rool reveal. But then, I noticed that K. Rool is with Donkey Kong and Diddy Kong, and they reveal Banjo and Kazooie in Smash. And of course, the Tears of the Kingdom reveal was incredible. Usually Nintendo doesn't announce games that far in advance, and it was quite a wait for it. But regardless, I would say that that goes into highlight.
Oh yeah, I definitely agree. Would you say it's better than the February 2019 or September 2018 directs? Because I'm kind of thinking where I should put it on this.
Yeah, I would say so.
Yeah, because it was definitely a pretty good direct. But moving on to September 2019, and yeah, this one was pretty disappointing, I would say. Really, the only things that I, like, really remember about this one are, like, I mean, one, the new info that we got on upcoming games, and then two, the Xenoblade remake, and three, the SNES games on Nintendo Switch Online. And then also, like, Sans and Smash as well, but I'm not sure if that even counts, because wasn't that a part of, like, the Smash presentation?
I'm not sure, but what I am sure about is that this is probably the worst Nintendo Direct of the Switch era, or one of the worst. Because it only had one announcement, which was a remake of Xenoblade Chronicles. Okay, cool, but it wasn't good. I would put it in trash.
Yeah.
It was such a nothing burger of a Nintendo Direct that why even bother watching it?
You know, I kind of agree with that, because, like, yeah, like, we really didn't have any, like, I mean, yeah, we got cool, like, little announcements, but, like, nothing too major. Like, really the only thing, like, the only major announcement was a remake. So, I mean, I might sound a bit hypocritical when I talk about some of these later directs, but, we really didn't get anything else. So...
I mean, it's a remake of a niche game. So, it's for a very specific audience that's not downplaying the quality of it. But in terms of announcements, it definitely needed some, because there was, like, nothing there.
Yeah. So, moving on...
And that would just be foreshadowing for the next year.
Oh, yeah. Okay, so moving on, this one isn't quite as infamous as the next ones we'll talk about, but going into 2020, we were noticing the lack of a Nintendo Direct, but we got a Nintendo Direct Mini in March, and yeah, it was not very good. Like, we really, the only thing that we got was, well, that I remember, is, Clubhouse games. I'll have to look at the other announcements, but...
I remember it distinctly. It was just Clubhouse games.
Yeah, like, I like Clubhouse games. It's fun and everything, and then we also got, like, new info on, like Xenoblade, Smash, different things like that, Sword and Shield, which is a pretty bad game, but...
You're just unlucky. Stop beating a dead horse.
But, yeah, it's really just new info on games that we already... Or DLC, for some games that we knew about. Or...
Now, to be fair, I will say that in terms of quality and announcements, it is worse than 2019's Nintendo Direct in September, but considering the circumstances surrounding it, and that it's a mini, I can't be as harsh with it. Sure, it just announced Clubhouse games, which is kind of meme-worthy. It's like having a Nintendo Direct that announces Personal Trainer Math for the Nintendo Switch, and that's the only announcement. But, you know what? It goes in farm.
Yeah.
You know, there's one game that they could have announced in that was probably going to release soon anyway, yet they didn't. And it boggles my mind that they didn't, because it would have made this Direct way more memorable.
Yeah, or for some people, maybe not, but, or in the opposite way, but, Paper Mario the Origami King. I mean, I think, like, it was so weird how they just did a random announcement out of nowhere in the middle of May, that was just so weird. Like, it would have made so much more sense if they announced it in this mini direct. Like, it's just so weird how they didn't, because we, like, didn't really know anything about Nintendo's schedule after this. So, it's just
Well, the thing
weird.
is, a lot of things probably flip-flopped and they couldn't be confident when they were releasing games, considering the world situation at the time. But I do feel like they could have announced Origami King. And if they weren't sure about it, just not have a concrete release date, and then when they did, announce it in May. So that was really weird. But little did we know that that would pretty much be the only Nintendo Direct of that year. And I feel like we did need some Nintendo Directs, or at least news that year, because it was a year that was just miserable. And little announcements and sprinkles of stuff that bring joy would have been very nice. But Nintendo, being Nintendo, decided to go with 2020 and just be complete crap.
Okay, you know what?
Because they introduced a new format coming up.
You know what? This next one doesn't even deserve to be in trash. It needs its own category here.
It's 2020.
We're calling this one 2020 trash.
Ugh. Gives me chills.
Yeah.
Actually gives me corona.
It's full of discarded masks and disappointing announcements from Nintendo. This July 2020 mini partner showcase doesn't deserve any more than this bottom tier here. Oh my gosh.
There's a reason why they announced it at midnight. They were hoping people didn't notice because it was horrible.
Yeah,
it was just WWE.
Okay,
oh my gosh.
Okay, it did have the SMT, but like, I mean, I'm sure that's a fine game. I do want to try SMT 5 at some point, but like, that's like not really anything. That's like 2 or 3 announcements. There was like nothing here, and this was like months after people were begging for a full direct, and this is like the only thing they just kind of like sprinkle out here.
You know what? This actually is the Willy Wonka experience of Nintendo Directs.
That's the perfect way of putting it. That is the perfect way of putting it, because we were expecting something big. Like, if you saw that one like meme that went around, like that had like Geno and Super Smash Bros. And like Super Mario Odyssey 2 on that one thumbnail, like people were getting really hyped.
I wasn't expecting that, but at the same time, I wasn't expecting a jelly bean and a lousy cup of lemonade. So yeah, it's horrible. And unfortunately, it started Nintendo Direct partner showcases, which fortunately have improved, but none of the ones in 2020 were much better.
Yeah.
I will say, going into the next one, it definitely was an improvement. It announced, I believe, Puyo Puyo Tetris 2 and a Taiko no Tatsujin game, so that was cool.
So maybe we'll put that just in trash, but not 2020 trash, because at least it had a couple good announcements, but it wasn't.
I'd be a little more forgiving and maybe put that in farm.
Okay, yeah. But the next one here was definitely way better than anything else that we got in 2020. And this was just a random shadow drop out of nowhere. There was no build up to this one at all. And this is the Super Mario Bros. 35th Anniversary Direct. This one was really memorable, honestly. Like, even though the 35th anniversary of Mario was pretty controversial in a lot of ways, Nintendo made a lot of really questionable decisions around that time, like with Super Mario 3D All-Stars and making Super Mario Bros. 35 like limited time. I mean, at the time, looking back in 2020, this was like really the only thing we had like to truly look forward to. And it was, I feel like it was really the only thing with substance in 2020, because we did get like 3D World plus Bowser's Fury, which was pretty memorable, I would say, even though that is a port. And Mario Kart...
I will say, yeah, looking back, a lot of the announcements were for ports. We didn't know the scale of Super Mario 3D World plus Bowser's Fury, but that was very exciting. And I was also excited for the Super Mario Bros. Game & Watch. I think that's a really cool little piece of tech. Although it should have included the original Super Mario Bros. Game & Watch game, but it's one of the coolest Mario collectibles out there, and they did a great job with that. But I heard you were going on about Mario Kart Live Home Circuit. Yeah, it wasn't the Mario Kart 9 everybody wanted, but still, pretty cool thing. I like whenever Nintendo experiments with ideas like that. You know, the thing with Home Circuit is it's a pain to set up, and it's not something you'd play every day, but it's a cool novelty.
Yeah. I would say, like, I just remember this, like, time quite a lot. Like, even though the 35th anniversary, I feel like in some ways it was kind of, like, disappointing. But in other ways, I feel like there were still some highlights to it. And I feel like that was around the time that, like, I started kind of, like, connecting more with, like, a lot of people. Because I think that's around the time where I first collabed with you, was during, like, the Mario 35th anniversary. So I feel like that was...
It was.
Definitely a pretty... Like, we actually did, like, a discussion video, like, right at the end of the 35th anniversary, when that kind of came to a close. But, I would say, I'm not sure where to rank this. Should it be in, Mini? Because it was... I would say there are, like, some memorable announcements, but it wasn't, like, anything super major, because it was mostly, like, ports and, like, smaller things, but it was, like, at the time, it was really the only thing we had to look forward to.
I would say it goes in Mini, and
Yeah.
that's mainly because Super Mario 3D All-Stars turned out to be a major disappointment. Super lazy collection, didn't feel like a celebration. I honestly think that Super Mario 3D All-Stars was developed because there were rumors that started about a 3D Mario collection coming to the Switch, and Nintendo just decided, okay, we got nothing this year, so let's do it in like 4 months.
Yeah.
And I would say this is, besides Shadow Drops, this is the quickest from reveal to release for a physical game that we've seen for a Nintendo game. It was just 2 weeks.
Yeah. And I think...
But that being said,
I think I'll put
not
it...
a great collection.
I think I'll put it slightly above the Mini 2018, because, like, I do think, like, some of the announcements were, like, a little better, like, than the quality of Mario Tennis Aces. Like, 3D World plus Bowser's Fury, great. Mario Kart Live Home Circuit, pretty cool as well. But yeah, I think Mini is a pretty good place to put that one. But moving on,
I would say so too.
Moving on, we have another partner showcase. They did quite a lot of these in 2020. So, and again, I don't really remember too much about what they even aired in this one. I think they did show like some things about Monster Hunter, but one thing that I do kind of remember that was pretty infamous was Balan Wonderworld. Oh boy.
You know, for that reason alone, put it in trash. I was gonna say, this is about...
Or should I put it in Should I put it in 2020 trash? Because I
mean, there's only one that's as bad as the original partner showcase, so I would put it in trash.
Okay.
But I will say, I think about Nickelodeon's Mr. Meaty puppet show more than this direct, even before it was aired. So yeah, it's not memorable and it's not good. Mr. Meaty's at least memorable, but not this.
Moving on to yet another partner showcase. October 2020. Again, I barely remember anything about this one. Like they didn't really do much here at all. Like, back in October, really the only thing I was excited about was, like, Mario Kart Live Home Circuit and Steve and Smash. They really just, like, elaborated on Okay, there was one interesting announcement here. Part-time UFO. That was pretty cool. I just didn't remember it because of how forgettable these partner showcases are. Part-time UFO is pretty cool. So maybe...
Yeah, honestly, I remember nothing about it.
I'll put it in farm because of part-time UFO, because I heard that's a pretty cool game. So moving on to 2021. This is when Nintendo actually finally brought back the general directs, and it was really exciting when they finally did. And I feel like with this direct, I mean, looking back, it definitely wasn't my favorite, because I mean there were definitely a lot of like there were some disappointing announcements here, and there were some, like, quite a lot of filler. This is when Nintendo, like, ever since, like, the September 2019 one, they started doing quite a lot of filler. But they did announce Splatoon 3, though really far in advance for some reason. It, like, for a game like Splatoon, I was not expecting them to reveal it that early. And they also did, like, Miitopia, which I thought was a pretty cool announcement. This one is kind of controversial, but Mario Golf Super Rush. I personally thought it, like, I actually kind of like it a little bit, even though it has a lot of issues and is kind of a fairly mediocre game in general. Just kind of a guilty pleasure for me.
That's a great way of putting it.
But some other things, like Skyward Sword HD, I mean, like, back then that was definitely pretty disappointing since it was $60, so and then also like some like Animal Crossing updates. They did like the Mario update then and different things like that, and also like a Smash announcement as well. Looking back, like, I liked some of the announcements, but like there was just way too much filler here for a direct that was kind of like basically returning to like the normal format again. Honestly, I feel like this is kind of a decent direct for me, like a decent category, I would say, because I mean, there were some things that I liked, but I wouldn't say it was terrible.
I would say that at the time we were really expecting a lot more. This is when they could have done the heavy hitters, like a new 3D Mario or a new Donkey Kong. But all we got was Mario Golf Super Rush, Miitopia was cool, Splatoon 3 felt a little bit unnecessary. At the time I was more disappointed with it. But, I would say decent.
Yeah. I feel, yeah, since April 2017 is also in that category, I feel like those directs, that definitely makes sense that they're on the same tier, because, like, both kind of meh, but, like, they had a couple interesting things. So, moving on, we actually have quite a good Nintendo Direct here. And I would say, wasn't this one of your favorites for a while?
Yeah,
E3
it was
2021.
a really good Direct. So Nintendo came back to E3, and they went back in a pretty cool way. This announced WarioWare Get It Together. Metroid Dread was a huge announcement. Advance Wars, that was really cool. And it showcased that Nintendo was willing to bring back series that have been neglected, that they really haven't done in a long time.
And also,
so for that reason,
another thing,
it was really exciting.
Another thing, Mario Party Superstars. We finally got the classic formula from like Hudson Soft back in a Mario Party game. This was fun. ND Cube finally hit the mark in terms of a Mario Party game. They finally did that formula correctly. And that was just a really exciting announcement for me. Like, a lot of people were saying at the time, I'm like, oh, it's just DLC for Super Mario Party. But then when people actually found out what it was pretty exciting. So I'm thinking, like, should this go in highlight or spotlight? Because it was I'm kind of leaning towards spotlight, because it was like the first time in like since 2019 that we actually got a direct that was like pretty good and like really memorable.
I would say definitely goes in a spotlight.
Yeah. So, moving on to September 2021. I know there was like quite a lot of filler in this one, but we also got like some really cool announcements as well. Like, we got Kirby and the Forgotten Land, which is the first 3D Kirby game, I'm not counting like Kirby 64 or Kirby Air Ride. But we also got like a few other things as well. Like, not too much, but like a lot of like information.
There's
on
one thing I remember it for. It announced the cast of the Super Mario Brothers movie. That's when we found out that Chris Pratt was voicing Mario and Seth Rogen would be Donkey Kong. That's all I remember. Usually with Directs, I end up leaving either very excited or very disappointed, but I just left at a loss for words just laughing at the idea of Seth Rogen as Donkey Kong. Was miffed about Chris Pratt as Mario, but you know, having Seth Rogen Donkey Kong, hearing that laugh, and when it made it into the final movie, I couldn't stop laughing. But I would say that a fair spot for that, Kirby and the Forgotten Land was a big announcement.
Yeah.
But when you balance everything out, it goes into mini.
Yeah. I would say maybe like high mini because of Kirby in the Forgotten Land. And remember when they did the Nintendo 64 Switch Online thing and they had Paper Mario and I was like screaming about that?
Was that during that one? I thought that was revealed in December. Although I do remember was this the one that revealed the expansion pass?
Yeah.
Because I gave you a really hard time for getting it. And it was a whole joke when you said you had a gift card to get it.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, to be fair, T&D got the expansion pack, and I'm on his plan, so he's the one who had the gift card. But at the same time, I feel like maybe it's worth it now, but at the time, it wasn't. So, I'd say it balances out to mini.
Yeah.
Or decent.
So,
but,
yeah.
I don't know if I'm prepared for this next one, so I'll let you start.
Okay.
This one's definitely my territory.
Okay. So, I mean, I'm just gonna go ahead and start with the good things, because, Xenoblade Chronicles 3, one of my favorite games of all time, was announced in this Direct, and I thought that was a really cool announcement. But, other than that, oh boy, we're starting to get into some, yeah, the Meech territory, like he said. Ooh. We'll let you continue with this, since I already gave the things that I liked about it.
Where do I begin? Okay, to be completely fair, the announcement of Mario Strikers Battle League was really cool. We didn't know what the game was going to turn out to be like, but at the time, it was exciting. But, oh my gosh. They announced a game that I've wanted for many years. That being a successor... Oh no. A successor to Wii Sports, and it turned out to be Nintendo Switch Sports. And the minute it was announced, I was excited when I saw the logo. And then I saw the Sportsmates, and I'm like, what the hell is this? And I'm like, oh, maybe it could be good and so on. And then I saw free update that adds leg strap support will be added in July, and then golf will launch this fall, and I was just fuming.
The legendary leg strap update.
They said legendary in a following one, but that showcased that game was a lost cause. And that was the direct result of many rants and the entire review on the channel, which is still what I consider to be my best video, the Nintendo Switch Sports episode of Trash or Treasure. I will say, looking back, Nintendo Switch Sports is so bad that it's funny. I am still pissed that they botched Wii Sports because I would have loved a proper game very similar to that. The best we got since then is WarioWare Move It, which kind of fills the niche for a hardware showcase. But Switch Sports, it's horrible, and it was a horrible announcement. But the announcement that literally, and I never done this for Directs, I walked out of the room because I was so angry, was the Mario Kart 8 Deluxe DLC.
Oh, yeah. Even though at the time I wasn't as, mad about, Switch Sports, and, I mean, I was actually excited about Battle League at the time, because we didn't know how it was going to turn out to be. But,
I was too.
But, oh boy, the Mario Kart 1, I was like, for so long, I was saying they're not going to do DLC for this game. I was saying they were going to do Mario Kart 9, but when they dropped the DLC, I was like, no, they're actually doing it. And it looked horrible at the time. With how they, messed up, Toad Circuit and Coconut Mall, and it just,
It was so unbelievably bad.
But...
It was horrible.
Thankfully...
That announcement...
But I just wanted to say, thankfully, the DLC ended up to be amazing by the end of it. Between Wave 3 and, the rest of it, I would say, it was kind of amazing, I would say. But starting off, it was really rough. It definitely had a pretty rough start with that.
Now that's what you call a nasty first impression. Yeah, it was horrible. And I remember seeing idiots defend it, saying, there are two kinds of people in the world. Those who enjoy the unrivaled gameplay of Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, and those obsessed with the visual quality of the grass. Guess which ones have the happier lives? The ones obsessed with the grass because they know what grass is supposed to look like because I've actually been outside. And another thing, yeah, the DLC was a horrible first impression, but yeah, it did get better, and it was something worth getting hyped for. And I feel like without the outrage, people or Nintendo would have just gone on with it. So I'm glad people spoke up, and it did become something that was truly great and a nice substitute for Mario Kart 9. And it preserved Mario Kart Tour's content. But that Direct, I would say, goes in the trash.
Yeah,
just
I
because
agree.
of Nintendo Switch Sports and the Mario Kart 8 Deluxe DLC announcement.
I would say probably like the bottom of trash here because of how many
Yeah.
bad announcements. Like, I mean, yeah, the one single announcement of this Direct ended up being like an amazing game with Xenoblade 3, but that's one amazing announcement out of like how many bad announcements there? Like there are
I
so
will
many.
say, maybe it could have been Farm, but it's trash because of the announcements of Nintendo Switch Sports and the DLC. You could have considered Mario Strikers Battle League exciting at the time, but when it all evens out, it hurt.
Yeah. So moving on, moving on to the next one, Partner Showcase. Like, you would think this would be like the bottom of the barrel. This would be worse than the one we were just talking about. But no!
No!
This was way better than the last Direct. This was, like, honestly, I would say definitely pretty good from the things that we got. Like, we finally got the return of Pac-Man World with Pac-Man World Repack. That was amazing. It was definitely a highlight. Because Pac-Man World is just such an underrated series. And it seemed like for so long, Bandai Namco was kind of neglecting Pac-Man. So it's so great that it's finally back. And I think they also like revealed some new info about like Sparks of Hope there as well.
They sure did.
Which was really cool.
Yeah. It was a great partner showcase, and surprisingly, it was the best Direct of that year.
And they
So
also
I would say for Pac-Man World and for Mario and Rabbids Sparks of Hope, it's definitely worthy of being in highlight.
Yeah, they also had a few other cool things as well, like Portal. I actually got the Portal collection recently, and it's really fun and definitely a great way of playing that series, because they ported it over to the Switch pretty well. Persona, I know quite a lot of people love that series, so that was definitely a highlight. And then even like a few other cool things as well, like Live Alive. Like that's like, I heard that game was pretty underrated, and I'm not sure if I think that game was like a Japan exclusive originally. So that's cool that got a remake. Sonic Frontiers even got some new info there as well. Overall, I would say that was definitely a great Direct, and I agree that it would go in highlight. But
This next one's hilarious.
yeah. Oh, we have a whole
Can I start this one?
Yep.
Okay. Farm, farm, farm,
Farm.
and JRPGs. Farm.
Okay,
You
let's.
know, we have a category for it, and I will say, in terms of actual presentations and what they announced, and if it wasted my time, I would say that this Nintendo Direct was one of the biggest waste of times imaginable. However, I can't consider it worse than E3 2000, or not E3, September 2019 or the partner showcases, because there was one announcement that single-handedly saved it, and that was Pikmin 4. However, I would say that it's the most infamous Nintendo Direct because we still think about it to this day.
Yeah.
And when Nintendo has a farming simulator in a Direct, that instantly comes to mind. Just the amount of farming simulators and JRPGs.
Yeah.
It was so bad.
Yeah,
There was also
and-
Kirby's Return to Dreamland Deluxe. However, you know what? Because it's meme-worthy, because it did have two good announcements, I would say it goes into the fitting category of farm.
It's just, this Direct made the word farm just so funny for some reason. It's
Every
just,
time I go past a barn, I'm just thinking, oh, is this where the Nintendo Directs are made?
and you know, when we say that Directs have like too many JRPGs, I know like a lot of people like to say, "Oh, you don't like JRPGs." But no, we just want more variety. I actually love JRPGs. I love Xenoblade and Earthbound and like even Fire Emblem. So
Okay, to be honest with you, some JRPGs intimidate me considering that they can take hundreds of hours to complete. But, you know, I respect them, and there are some ones that I like. But, yeah, how would you feel if there was a Nintendo Direct that was entirely rhythm games or kart racers? It's the same concept. And with the
yeah,
JRPG thing, that was not a one-time occurrence. There were so many Directs that were just loaded with them.
yeah, that's kind of what brought some of these other ones down that we have kind of around farm or trash. Um, because there were like it was either farming sims or just random filler games in general. But yeah, so now we're moving into some pretty recent territory here with 2023,
Is this
and
the February one? Because I only have a few words for that one.
yeah,
Guess what the first words that come to mind are?
what?
It has to do with a certain game that was shadow dropped.
Oh, he was right.
He was right! This was the Nintendo Direct that certified Jeff Slob as a credible insider, so these directs just get funnier as they go on.
Yeah,
It announced Metroid Prime Remastered. Forget that it looked incredible. Forget the insane fact that it was shadow dropped and released on the same exact day. All that mattered to me is that Jeff Slob was right. He was right about everything. I will say Metroid Prime Remastered was a huge announcement. But in terms of the Direct, Game Boy and Game Boy Advance coming to Switch Online, cool, but paltry lineup. It was decent.
yeah, and then also we also got like a few other things as well. Like Pikmin 4, we got like more info on that game. And that's when we
Well, that was
actually
a pretty big deal.
yeah, we actually got to see like more of that game finally. Like with the release date and like Ochi and some of the things in the game. So
You know the thing with the Farm Direct, when Pikmin 4 was revealed, I thought it could be a similar situation to Metroid Prime 4 where they just say it's coming but don't really reveal much about it. But this Nintendo Direct let a lot of just concerns fade away because it stated, yeah, it's coming and it's coming in July. So that I consider to be like a new game announcement. And Metroid Prime Remastered was very cool. So I would say it goes in upper decent or lower mini.
yeah, I'm thinking I'm not sure.
Maybe above the 35th Direct.
Yeah, actually yeah, that would be good. That's a pretty solid placement for that. But moving on, I would say okay, this one was absolutely incredible. Like after this
I
happened,
just gotta say, with this Nintendo Direct, it felt like we were approaching the end of the Nintendo Switch era. We didn't know about a lot of upcoming games. We just knew about things like Metroid Prime Remastered and stuff like that. But this completely changed the future for the Nintendo Switch. And we'll definitely get into why. But before we do, I think this goes of Spotlight. This deserves a category of its own.
okay.
This is hands down the best Nintendo Direct of the Nintendo Switch era and the second best Nintendo Direct of all time. That's how good it is.
Let's call this one Platinum Spotlight.
Wonderful Spotlight.
Or yeah, Wonderful Spotlight's even better.
So with this Nintendo Direct, considering that a lot of Nintendo Directs were filled with filler, filled with farm, and just were overall disappointing, I had no expectations going into this. But what did it announce? Nintendo brought in the Super Scope. Bam! Super Mario RPG, WarioWare Move It, so many new games, and it ended off with Super Mario Bros. Wonder, which is one of the most exciting Mario announcements of all time. It was the 2D Mario game that fans have wanted for years. And we got the announcement of a new Princess Peach game being Princess Peach Showtime, and a remake of Luigi's Mansion Dark Moon.
Yeah, and
It doesn't
also
get much better
a
than that.
new WarioWare as well, with WarioWare Move It, which is a sequel to Smooth Moves. And then with Mario RPG, we finally kind of got like a full return to the traditional Mario RPGs, which was absolutely amazing, and I was ecstatic about it as a Paper Mario and Mario RPG fan, though I think the next Direct I'll save my discussion about that. So, that was just absolutely amazing, and I feel like this kind of segmented, like, or kind of, cemented this era as one of the best times to be a Mario fan. Like,
Not just one of the best times to be a Mario fan, but I would say that 2023 was Nintendo's best year ever. They did a phenomenal job, and that Direct also proved that the Switch is here to stay.
yeah, that was just amazing in general. We also, like, with Pikmin, we also got, like, some things with Pikmin as well. Like,
Love Pikmin?
like, they, announced the demo for Pikmin 4, and they also, did Pikmin 1+2, which I thought was really cool, that we could actually play all of the mainline Pikmin games on the Switch. I'm sorry, Hey Pikmin, but, I guess that game's left out, but,
I will say, when it comes to Nintendo Directs, a lot of them, you tend to forget what is announced. But there are so many announcements that it's hard to keep track of them. So yeah, best Nintendo Direct of the Nintendo Switch era, bar none. Although the next one does come very close.
yeah.
And I was not expecting that either.
Oh. Paper Mario, Paper Mario, Paper Mario, Paper Mario, Paper Mario, the 1,000-year door is coming
All
to
I
the
gotta
Switch.
say is after the Nintendo Direct, I messaged Reecee asking, "Are you okay?" Because I was a little bit worried he might have had a heart attack. That announced more information on Princess Peach Showtime, the remake of Mario vs. Donkey Kong, and the huge surprise announcement of Paper Mario the Thousand Year Door. I was not expecting that, considering that Super Mario RPG was on the horizon, so I didn't think they were going to do that. But
Yeah.
what a great surprise. That was one of the
Oh my
coolest
God.
surprises Nintendo has ever done.
Honestly,
And I will say, with that Direct, there was one announcement that was a little disappointing, being F-Zero 99, but after playing it, it's great.
yeah, I would
It's
say,
a surprisingly good game.
yeah, I like, just the, like, the fact that they announced a 1,000-year door remake is just absolutely incredible. It kind of goes against everything that they've been doing over the past decade for Paper Mario. And it just, like, the fact that it was the last announcement there, like, even though it's a remake, Nintendo sees the significance in that game, and they see the significance of bringing back more story-based Mario Adventures and Mario RPGs and everything. It's just amazing. And then with Mario vs. Donkey Kong, that was also great as well. Just like, and that's also kind of a return to form as well, since that's returning to the DK94 formula. And those are like two things that I've been wanting for so long. So that was just an amazing Direct in general. I would say definitely Spotlight. I would say probably like probably close to the top of Spotlight, just for me. I know some people might rank it lower because of like the fact that there were a lot of remakes and things, but these are remakes of games that I've been wanting remakes of for years.
And one thing that's worth bringing up is that there were a lot of Mario announcements, just like there were in the June one. But the thing is, there are a lot of comparisons like, oh, you Scrimblows are just happy because of Mario announcements. What about the variety you were talking about? Here's the key difference. With JRPGs, they're all the same genre. But with Mario, there are so many different types of games and so many different things you can do with them.
like
Princess Peach Showtime, very different game compared to something like Super Mario Bros. Wonder. Just like how Mario vs. Donkey Kong is very different from Paper Mario the 1,000-Year Door. So with Mario and all the spin-offs, I think it's okay to have a lot of Mario games. Yeah, it's my favorite series, but like I said, there is a ton of variety in different genres.
hey, and technically, with this Direct, we technically did get our JRPG fix with 1,000-Year Door, because technically Paper Mario is a JRPG, so technically we did have JRPGs in this one, but yeah, so moving on to the final and most recent Nintendo Direct, we have the Partner Showcase that just happened last month. And honestly, I thought it was alright. Like, I was a little disappointed that we didn't get anything that would have new info on Paper Mario: The Thousand Year Door or Luigi's Mansion 2 HD, but the announcements that we did get here were really cool. Like, we got a remake of Epic Mickey, which I was not expecting. I thought they completely forgot about Epic Mickey, so I think that's pretty cool that that's coming back. Also, some new info on South Park Snow Day as well, which looks pretty cool. A new Super Monkey Ball game, which also looks pretty cool. I think that's great. New info on World of Goo 2. The Shadow Drop of Penny's Big Breakaway. I still need to play that, but I heard that was really good. And that's cool that it got like a shadow drop there, as well as Pocket Card Jockey, which I heard was pretty underrated. I think that's really cool that that got a shadow drop as well. So, and then Endless Ocean at the end, which is another forgotten Nintendo series coming back. And there's actually some cool features with this one too, since it has like up to 30 players in multiplayer. I thought this was actually a fairly good partner showcase, looking back.
I would say so too. I'd say it either goes into mini or decent. Not amazing, but still better than I expected.
I would say maybe lower mini, a little below or a little above the January 2018, because the announcements that we did get were pretty good, even though we were kind of like hoping for like new info on the games that they already announced, like Thousand Year Door and Luigi's Mansion, but for what was there, I thought that was fairly good. But anyways, those were the Nintendo Directs of the Switch era. There were definitely quite a lot, I feel like there were definitely a lot of highlights. There were definitely quite a lot of really infamous Directs as well. So I feel like it was definitely a mixed bag, but we did get quite a lot of good ones.
Yeah, and I would say that June 2023 Direct specifically really reignited my interest in Nintendo, and it showed that Nintendo was back in a great way. And even though we haven't had a Direct since September, I feel like we still could get exciting announcements and such, and things have just become a lot better in terms of exciting announcements, remakes and such. And yeah, I would say that, do you think that the good Directs that we've gotten recently have made up for the bad ones?
Honestly,
Because I do feel like the Switch era has gone on a long time and it feels like it only just started now. But at the same time, it wasn't a normal situation for Nintendo because I had to release something soon after the Wii U.
yeah. Though the thing is, with the Switch era, we still did get quite a lot of things. It just didn't really feel like it, because everything seemed kind of spread out over time. Like, sometimes we would have a drought of kind of interesting announcements, and then in years like 2019, 2021, 2023, and a little bit of this year, we get like a ton of like huge games and interesting games releasing. But I feel like it's kind of weird. I feel like some years are just kind of like really disappointing for the Switch, while others are like really exciting and really interesting, and like it's just kind of interesting.
Yeah, I would say so too.
But yeah, anyways, so that's our tier list of the Nintendo Directs. Let us know your thoughts on it down in the comments. So anyways, thank you guys for watching this video. Make sure to leave a like and subscribe for more, and make sure to check out my Discord server and Twitter if you want to, and also check out the Meech's channel as well. Goodbye, and stay perky!
Perky!